r/AskReddit. Who is the most spoiled person you know, and why? There's a little hit of a kid next door. Parents are those new age parents. Real hands-on parenting. No one is better than Dylan. He's 11 and has a PS4, Xbox One, drum kit, guitar, and his parents for the last 5 years have sent him to Barcelona for a football camp. He walks around like Lord Muck. Has one of those resting smug faces. I hate him. I'm a 25-year-old male. Is there another kid in Dylan's house who sleeps under the stairs? He has a younger brother called Scene who's pretty chill. There was a kid in my fraternity whose parents were literally billionaires. We actually had a couple of them, but this kid was just dumb rich. For making the dean's list one semester, his parents let him get any car he wanted under $100. 000. I'm not making this up. Kid got pissed because the package he wanted on his Jaguar F-Type made it over $100k, and his parents said fine after enough protest. At least I got to drive it sometimes though. Sick car. Edit. Whose? Edit. To those asking. No, the dean's list is not easy at my school. Won't name it, but it's a small liberal arts college that's usually ranked top 25 on US News, so it's not like it was super easy. Also, the kid's actually a great dude. Just doesn't really realize how lucky he is. He can pick any car under 100k and he goes with a ducking Jag. Jesus. I hate him too. Edit. Oh god, what have I done? All of our friend group really were pushing for the most souped up Tesla, but he didn't want it because there was no way to charge it at the frat house. Yes, he kept his Jag in a frat house parking lot. My brother's girlfriend's daughter screams whenever she can't have what she wants. They give her what she wants, so she'll stop screaming. Change her habits now before it's too late. As someone expecting his first child, got any ideas on how best to handle it? This kid I went to high school with got a Porsche for his 16th birthday. Keep in mind 16 in my state is when you can get a permit. So he didn't even have a license. He got a new one later in high school after backing out into a tree. He basically was handed admission to an Ivy League school because his grandparents had donated a building. Being handed admission is one thing. Being handed your degree or degrees is another level of wealth. True. But grade inflation is pretty severe at Ivies and C's get degrees. Getting in on your merits is orders of magnitude harder than graduating. A girl I'm friends with graduated college with an engineering degree. Had a great job making tons of money, which she quit because a guy whistled at her. She worked as a waitress for 20 hours a week and got pregnant. Her parents buy her a house with the expectation that she pays them rent. She stays at this house, which is beautiful BTW, for 6 months and never pays the rent. Her baby daddy lost his job and spends his days playing video games. She gets in an argument with her parents and moves in with her BF's parents. She then gets in an argument with his parents and asks to move back home. Her parents let her move back home. Rent free, utilities paid for, and they watch her baby most days. Why are you friends with this person? She sounds like a terrible human being. Names and relationships may be changed to protect the innocent. My cousins. My aunt and uncle can never say no to them, and they have now drained my grandmother's small fortune. My other uncle contributed to that as well, but now my grandmother is selling her place and moving to a smaller one because of how much money she has had to give to that side of the family. I love them, but they are just spoiled as can be. My granny was in a retirement facility and she was fairly well taken care of. Baths every day, hair and nails done, 3 square meals, meds at the same time daily, etc. This was paid for out of her retirement account that my dad was the executor of because he was the most successful of her children and could handle money very well. My aunt, who lives a state over and spent literally no time even visiting her in 8 ducking years, granny had a stroke, got dementia, and broke her foot all in one go. Aunt didn't even show up for that one. Shows up one day and decided that granny is going to live with her from now on because it's deplorable that she isn't living with the family. Mind you, granny had become incontinent before the stroke and everything got worse from there. My sister was her caretaker for 4 years with no help from anyone else besides our father, whose home she stayed at for the prior 14 years. So my aunt moves my granny to her city. She gets access to the considerable wealth that my dad had accumulated for my granny to pay for her retirement. And my granny is dead less than a year later. They let her ducking rot. They wiped out all of her bank accounts and savings. It actually gets worse. What was left of her estate went to probate because she didn't have a will. My aunt's family wanted her to be buried in their state so they could establish residence to say that they were the ones deserving of the estate. My pa is buried here. There is no way in hell they should be buried in 2 different graveyards, much less 2 different states. So, my dad had to pay my aunt the equivalent of her estate's value, $7,000, for her to release the body so it could be shipped over here at my father's expense to be buried, also at my father's expense, next to her husband. No one from that aunt's side of the family showed up for the funeral or the memorial service, which was held a few days before. We had family that was in their 90s that came from across the country to attend. Ducking pieces of hit. Edit, as Kal-El Diablo pointed out, even if you have a will it goes to probate. From my understanding a trust will keep it out of probate. But she had neither. Why was your aunt even given conservatorship to begin with? Did your dad not resist her efforts? My college roommate and former best friend. Grew up spoiled as an only child. Huge 5-bed house for the 3 of them. Fancy truck to play with bells and whistles. Dad's credit card. When I got engaged I asked her to be my maid of honor. And she told me no because she couldn't approve of my marriage. The reason? He didn't have a bachelor's degree. So she was just certain that we couldn't be happy. 8 years. 2 kids later. I'm still poor, but very happy and have my smoking hot karate instructor husband who turned out to be a much better deal than making a spoiled princess happy. Edit, I never imagined this particular story to be such a hot topic. I had plenty of other issues that came up over the years. This was just icing on the cake. Also, by poor I mean what society believes to be poor. We make ends meet and are not left wanting, but make less than the median income for our area by a decent stretch. The fact that someone can equate a bachelor's degree to a good marriage is just, what the duck. Well, I'm not saying the spoiled friend isn't a hithead, but she does have the statistics on her side. Marriages where both parties have bachelors or up are significantly less likely to end in divorce. Of course you can't really take a general statistic like this and apply it on a single case directly. Guy from my old school was gifted by his parents a 24,000 new sport car. 2 months later he totaled it while texting. His parents bought him a new sub same price. Crashed it next month. Parents bought him a used Pose for $2,000. He ranted for months. Every single dipshit described in this thread who was given a car. Totaled it. The car guy inside me is dying a little. Edit, I can't let the car guy out. No way in. No way out. Edit 2, if anybody knows any rich idiot with disposable income, I have a long list of cars I must at some point drive. P. Girl I went to college whose parents paid her a salary which was more than I earned in my job. She then used to tell her parents she needed extra money for course books and go spend it on booze. Her parents didn't want her to work because it would interfere with her studies. She got ducked up so much on booze and drugs that she ended up dropping out of college, and then they bought her a flat to live in. My grandmother gives $100 a month to every grandchild in college with the caveat that it's fun money and not to be used for bills. I still worked through college, and I'm still paying off the loans. But that money was spectacular. It meant I could have pizza or go to the movies once in a while and not completely live off of ramen. Your grandma is wise. I've worked at a private school in the UK this past year, and I have a few examples of kids just having no idea they were spoiled, which just made it worse. 16 years old comes into school on Monday complaining how unfair it was that his dad grounded him for crashing their plane. I asked him how bad it was, and he said it was only PS 40,000 worth of damage, which his dad can afford, so what's the problem? My jaw dropped. Another 16 years old asks me what I'm doing for the summer break. I tell him working mainly, with perhaps a weekend to visit a few friends. He could not wrap his head around why I wasn't traveling, going on holiday etc. Then followed to go on about how he'd spent his summer at his private lake, saving the best one for last folks. On his birthday, one of the 18 years old students received a chain of hotels. A fully operating 5 chain that would all be officially owned under his name. The nerve of this kid to complain it wasn't what he wanted made me really resent working there for a while. Edit, to those doubting the truthfulness of these statements. This was the only 3 outlandish moments I had over the year, so out of 800 kids, it's a small percentage. And to clarify, the 18 years old with the hotel was not expected to run it. He simply would get the owner's share of the profits from then on. You missed an opportunity. Should have had him sign it over to you for $1. Tell him it would teach his parents a lesson. He'd probably do it. That's brilliant. My brother. He has this notion that, because he's adopted, our parents owe him forever. He treats them like garbage, and they do all they can to help him and his son. He's a 27-year-old man-child and I can't stand him. And in case anyone's curious, I'm adopted too, though we are not related by blood. I love my parents and just see them as normal parents. That's really sad. They adopted him into a family and gave him love, and he pays them back by saying that they owe him. He would not have survived the system. We were both adopted as infants and the adoptions were settled before we were born. We were never in the system. Not really. Ducking like and subscribe.